Well, good evening, my people. Right on time for the Daily Report. My name is Linda Alela. I am sitting in for Hibak Said tonight. We have lots lined up for you in the world of news, just taking tabs of what is playing out in the country and beyond, and that's the business of the day. So tonight, the court battle is still on. Impeached Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua is equally fighting for his political survival in courts. We pick the brains of Jeremiah Kioni, the Jubilee Party Secretary General, as well as the DAB Member of Parliament, Farah Maalim, who doubles up as a legal mind that is on the limbo that this political melodrama presents to the country. Also tonight, we have some good news for you. Well, this Friday, that is TV47 in collaboration with Radio Africa, that will bring to you the inaugural FKF Presidential Debate of all the 9 presidential candidates. That is from 6 p.m. You do not want to miss out on that. Of course, Tony Kwalanda, talk of Danku, they will all be there to make sure that we get to see what the sports, or perhaps what basically the future of sports is in the country. My name is Linda Alela, and of course, we have so much lined up for you. Here are the highlights. Tonight, another blow for Gachagua as court rules that Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu properly appointed a 3-judge bench to handle petitions on ouster of Gachagua as DP. Also tonight, just who is the Deputy President?
Rigathi Gachagua, and so he is currently in office as Deputy President despite his impeachment by virtue of a court order.
Kindiki or Gachagua? Deputy President designate Kithure Kindiki fails to appear before Senate to answer questions for Interior Ministry.
So at the level of Parliament, the Deputy President of Kenya is Professor Kithure Kindiki.
And bodies of mother and 2 daughters killed in Nairobi and Machakos brought to city mortuary. More than 3,000 applications were received against 46,000 vacancies for JSS teachers as KICD launches grade 9 books. Well, the Daily Report begins right now. I'll be sitting in for our very own Hibak Said, who is out for assignment. And on the sign language interpreter's desk, we have Kathleen C. Malloy, who will be taking us through. Plots lined up for you. The hashtag, as always, is the Daily Report. I'll be looking at some of your comments as we continue with the broadcast. 22047 is the SMS short code at Linda_Alela TV47KE. Please interact with us. All the questions you'll have for the guest tonight, we'll be getting into that shortly. Now, the High Court has ruled that Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu acted lawfully in constituting a 3-judge, or that is 3, to hear a petition on the impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua as Deputy President. The ruling this afternoon by a panel of Justice Frida Mugambi, Anthony Mrima and Eric Ogola was a blow to Gachagua, who was questioning the constitution of the bench by Deputy Chief Justice. And as Mike Agungu now reports, Gachagua's lawyers are now planning to appeal the ruling.
The impeached Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has suffered a setback in his legal onslaught against his impeachment after the 3-judge panel maintained its legality before the bench. Gachagua's team, led by senior counsel Paul Moite, had filed an application E015 of Kerogoya demanding that Deputy Chief Justice was, according to Article 165(4) of the Constitution, not eligible to empanel a bench meant to hear and determine his matters. Senior counsel Moites claims that the 3-judge bench was assembled at night without a formal sitting were also rejected by the panel. And this was not the only claim that was quashed by the 3-judge bench.
It's therefore our finding that constitutional function of the CJ to assign benches under Article 165(4), being an administrative function, can be performed by the Deputy Chief Justice when the Chief Justice is for good reason unable to perform.
The entire Constitution has to be read as an integrated whole, and no one particular provision destroying the other, but each sustaining the other. This is the rule of harmony, the rule of completeness and exhaustiveness, and the rule of paramountcy of the written Constitution.
This bench remains firm in its duty and will not be swayed or influenced by any form of intimidation, regardless of its source.
The Nairobi High Court imposed a conservatory orders on 18th of October to prevent the swearing-in of the nominated Deputy President Kithure Kindiki until the petition filed by Rigathi Gachagua was heard and determined. The High Court judge stated that the petition addressed important legal and public interest issues, making it appropriate for a bench of judges with an uneven number of members to be constituted by Chief Justice Martha Koome. Gachagua's lawyers, however, have promised to appeal the matter in the upper court to protest the ruling against how the bench was empaneled.
I will certainly be seeking to persuade my client to appeal. One issue of accusing counsel to have been talking to the gallery, that is not something that should be left on the record of this court.
Those applications for conservatory orders were first certified as urgent and would be the first business of this court appearing there, assuming there is no other preliminary issue like recusal or otherwise.
All will be handled together.
Justice Eric Ogola in his report said all other applications will be mentioned Thursday morning, with the bench set to hear the recusal application later in the afternoon. Mike Kagwango, TV47, Nairobi.
And some more on politics. Kambu Senator Gachaguas is now proposing an amendment to the Constitution to lower the term limit for the President, members of Parliament, senators, governors and members of county assemblies to a 4-year term. This proposal comes just a day to the deadline of the public participation exercise on another proposal by his Nandi counterpart, Samson Cherargei, that is to increase the term to 7 years. Elizabeth Mutuku now reports on the two conflicting proposals by the members of the ruling party.
7 or 4. This is ongoing debate on the term limit for president, members of parliament, senators, governors and members of county assemblies.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise to...
Kambu Senator Gachaguas is now proposing 4-year term limit in his amendments to the Constitution. He argues that a 4-year term empowers citizens to hold their leaders accountable more frequently. Voters deserve the right to evaluate their representatives and make necessary changes based on performance.
So proposed, after opposing the 7-year term, I have now proposed a different amendment to that issue. And what is my amendment? I'm proposing a 4-year term limit. 4 years, yes. Therefore, I'm moving an amendment that proposes a 4-year term limit for the president, members of parliament, senators, governors, and members of county assemblies.
Gachaguas opposing the Cherargei proposals before the Senate Committee on Justice, Legal Affairs and Human Rights, terming it a threat to democratic accountability, risk of authoritarianism and likely to have public distrust and discontent.
The court okayed the affordable housing. Nobody is talking about it. So it is a scheme that we look at Gachagua, we look at the deputy president, we look at what is happening. And then, all of a sudden, the 7-year term. Can you imagine a 7-year term of the current governance?
In his proposals, Cherargei proposes an amendment to Article 136 of the Constitution, which provides for election of president to increase the term limit of president from 5 years to 7 years. The Nandi senator is also proposing an amendment to Article 101 Article 177 and Article 180 of the Constitution to extend the terms of MPs, senators, MCAs and governors to serve 7 years. He also proposed the introduction of the office of Prime Minister, who shall be leader of the largest party or coalition of parties in Parliament. He is proposing the appointment of Prime Minister by the President from amongst members of Parliament. The bill also seeks to increase the parliamentary role of the Senate by addressing the issues that have hampered the implementation of the Constitution.
Trusting the Senate, because if the Senate, after listening to the accusation of the Deputy President, voted the way they voted, that tells you they have premeditated kind of voting. And if we are quiet on the 7-year term, the same premeditated, the same invested on or in kind of voting will occur.
For now, the deadline to submit your views on the proposed amendment lapses on Friday this week. Government keeps distancing itself from the extension of term limit debates, and the much awaited is to see whether it will have a nod of the majority in the Senate. Elizabeth Mutuko, TV47 Palm Biddings, Nairobi.
Thank you, Liz, for that. Now, an impeached deputy president and a deputy president designate have thrown Kenyans into a state of confusion of who is President William Ruto's principal assistant. Wage William, engaging a number of constitutional lawyers, poked holes into this historic situation. This even as 29 legal suits filed in the courts in a bid to secure embattled Rigathi Gachagua's continued occupancy of the second office are active.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua in courts fighting his impeachment by the National Assembly and the Senate. President William Ruto has also assembled a legal arsenal in a bid to find legal avenues in expediting the swearing-in of Deputy President-designate Kithure Kindiki, whose nomination was approved by the National Assembly on Friday. These developments have left a majority of Kenyans wondering who is the Republic's Deputy President.
Rigathi Gachagua, and so he is currently in office as Deputy President despite his impeachment by virtue of a court order. Something similar happened to the governor of Meru County, who is still in office as governor, despite having been impeached and removed by the Senate.
Charles Kanjama, a constitutional lawyer, argues that Gachagua's case isn't unique, likening the scenario to that of embattled Meru Governor Kawira Mwangaza, who, despite her impeachment, still discharges her constitutional duties as the county chief, obeyed an ongoing court process disputing her removal from office by impeachment.
The reason I keep referring to the cases of governors is so that we can realize the situation about the deputy president is not unique. He's not the first senior state officer to be impeached. So the same thing would happen to the deputy president, that if you are reinstated in office by court order, you continue exercising your constitutional mandate.
Last week, a high court sitting in Kerugoya issued orders barring Kithure Kindiki from assuming the deputy president's office, with conservatory orders against implementation of the Senate's resolutions, despite an already gazettement of Kindiki to take up the deputy president's roles.
Mr. Kindiki, has he taken oath of office so as to say that he is equal to His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua? He is not known in law. He is a stranger.
The effect of a conservatory order is to hold, at the moment the order was made, in a process that was outstanding. Now, the process of removal by way of impeachment had been completed, so that it is subsequent steps anchored on that removal that are subject to the order for stay.
However, it is the opinion of legal minds that the situation being as is, it is for the court to give a clear direction into the matter.
It's only judiciary that is now remaining, and we are beseeching the Chief Justice to give serious moral support to the judges.
It is for the court to decide whether to stay the effects of the impeachment or not.
Already a legal battle is playing out in the courts. Wednesday, at the Senate, confusion ensued after Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki failed to appear to answer questions relating to the interior docket.
But I think because of this, what is happening now between, I think, the last few days, this is exactly why we have not been able to receive CS Interior in this house.
To the Secretariat that stop being superfluous by sending him invitation letters to come and respond on issues of interior. If you have got anything to ask him to come and speak on matters concerning the office of the Deputy President.
The matter that Senator Alela is raising, we all know that it is a matter that is being canvassed elsewhere.
It will be highly prejudicial, Honorable Speaker, for us to engage in that debate at this particular moment in time.
An impeached Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, Deputy President designate Kithure Kindiki. For now, Kenyans will have to wait to see the next occupant of the Harambee Annex Deputy President's office. Mwigi William for TV47, Nairobi.
Yes, those political stories that we've touched on will definitely be forming the basis of our conversation even as we look at the state of the nation. The marketplace takes a break, at least for this week, until the back is back. That is next week. Now, the family of the 3 victims, a mother and her 2 daughters in Nairobi's Isili estate, is seeking justice after the 3 who disappeared on Monday this week were found dead. The 3 bodies were found in Bahati, Parklands and Machakos, respectively, with similar injuries as Samira Mohammed details.
The faces of relatives of the missing 3, Swahiba, Dhahabo and Amina Telitol, questions piling as to what could have happened to their kins after they went missing on Monday, only to be found dead. These as the body of Dhahabo Dahir was on Wednesday transferred to the city mortuary from the Machakos. The 3 bodies were found in Bahati, Parklands and Machakos respectively with similar injuries. The 2 girls, aged 11 and 22, left home on Monday evening at around 5:30 p.m. to search for their missing mother, who had gone out earlier in the day for skin treatment in Isli, but had not returned home and had not communicated at all.
Jana ndo tulipata mwili moja Parklands, ngine Isli Bahati, mama inasemekana Machakos, but hatujamuona bado mama. Sai hapa city mortuary kuna mwili 2 tu. Na wamefanyiwa vibaya sana, even hauwezi hata simama hapo uangalie, so we need justice.
The family members of the 3 are now calling upon the government and relevant authorities to expedite on the investigations and ensure that justice is served to their slain kins.
Mama alikuwa anaenda hospitali, wakaitwa, wakapigiwa simu, wakaambiwa mama yenu inaitwa aje, I feel poor. So wakakuja wakamuendea kwa nyumba, venye wamemuendea wakamuendea wakampata kwa gari. Venye walimpata kwa gari pia wao wakaabductiwa hivyo, ndo tukapata hii case venye imekuwa. We need justice because paka sahi hakuna any step yenye imechukuliwa na government, na sisi tuko na shaka mingi sana.
These as a section of human rights groups strongly condemn the atrocities committed against the 3, further calling on the Directorate of Criminal Investigations to expedite on the investigations and ensure that justice is served to the families.
We are indeed extremely disturbed by what we have witnessed here at the city mortuary today, together with what we also saw in Machakos. This is murder most foul, calling on the DCI to leave no stone unturned to ensure that the culprits are brought to book and that justice is done.
Samira Mohammed for TV47.
Well, indeed, it's important that justice then be served. That unfortunate piece takes us, gives us a shift to matters education, where Kenya Certificate for Secondary Exams has entered its 2nd day across the country with minimal challenges reported. The Ministry of Education says that enough measures have been put to place, including areas that have been affected by insecurity in the past.
The 2nd day of the Kenya Certificate for Secondary Education exams, candidates were sitting for home science paper across the country. The Ministry of Education says it is working with security agencies and the Ministry of Interior to ensure the safety of the learners. Such areas is Elgeyo Marakwet County, where the government has put proper measures by deploying enough security personnel.
Our security personnel have been deployed accordingly to those very examination centers. In terms of transportation, the Ministry of Education has done proper preparation to ensure that all schools are served very well by government vehicles, particularly those vehicles from that are owned by various schools.
The Education Ministry assuring parents that efforts have been put in place to even areas that might be affected by floods.
But we are working in a multi-agency team with the Ministry of Interior and many other ministries to ensure that no learner will miss their exam. So some of those are being moved from the centers, maybe they were into another central place that is safer for them to be able to undertake their examinations. But if there is a situation, we'll deal with the challenges the way they come.
In Vihiga County, candidates have expressed optimism as they continue to sit for other exams.
Naamini kuwa pia nasi tutafanya matokeo haya yawe juu.
Hali ya masomo imekuwa njema na tungependa kushukuru walimu kwa kazi nzuri ambayo wamefanya kwa ajili ya matayarisho ya mtihani wa kitaifa.
Nia yangu ningependa kuwa daktari kwa mtihani unaokuja, na imani kuwa nitaweza kupata alama ya baongeza na najitayarisha vyema ili kuhakikisha kuwa nimeweza kuingia katika chuo kikuu mwaka unaokuja.
The exams will be taking place in 10,755 centers across the country with a record of 965,501 candidates, an increase from last year. In some areas, however, teachers are complaining of delayed capitation, which they say has affected the exams.
Tuna changamoto haswa kuhusu practicals ambazo zinakuja kufanywa kwa sababu ya fedha. Pesa ambazo serikali ilitupatia zilikuwa ni kidogo, na kwa sasa hivi shule nyingi sinashangaa vile huo mtihani utafanywa kama serikali itatuletea pesa.
Candidates sitting for the KCSE exams will be issued with a new Maisha card before the end of the examination. Paul Kirobi, TV47, Nairobi.
The Ministry of Education has officially launched the distribution of grade 9 textbooks, which have been approved by the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, KRCD. Education Cabinet Secretary Julius Migos said that the distribution aims to facilitate education under the competency-based curriculum. Meanwhile, the Teachers Service Commission, TSC, has reported a teachers' shortage in the country, further announcing plans to employ about 46,000 intern teachers on permanent and pensionable terms, as Andrine Kilemi details.
The flag-off by Education Cabinet Secretary Julius Migos marked the beginning of a journey of distribution of grade 9 textbooks across counties in the country. The distribution, which began today, is expected to continue until December 15th this year.
I have directed that schools that may have variances in the number of books delivered to them should report to the Sub-County Education Office.
The approval of the books by the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development was achieved through rigorous evaluation, vetting and validation through the panel system.
I would like to confirm therefore the books with the distribution we are launching today make the set curricular goals, standards of relevance, accuracy, quality and inclusivity. I have no doubt that they will aid in the process of nurturing the learner's potential and building of an ethical society.
In total, the Ministry of Education has procured 1 million copies of learners' books and 24,000 copies of teachers' guides for each subject in grade 9.
So it is so important that the head teachers, where the head teacher may not be available, their deputy head teachers are available in school to ensure that these materials are received in our schools, that they are properly received, properly kept, and that there is accountability into ensuring that these materials are safe in our schools.
Yes, we shall.
Meanwhile, the Teachers Service Commission has admitted to a shortage of teachers, especially in science subjects. To ensure equitable distribution across regions, TSC also announced plans to recruit 20,000 teachers by January next year.
Sometimes, yes, we have these vacancies, but we do not have the establishment, so we are not funded for that.
In a meeting with Education Parliamentary Committee, TSC revealed that 314,117 teachers applied for jobs, while the Commission had only advertised for 46,000 positions. Andrine Kilemi, TV47.
And now to health. Despite the Social Health Authority, SHA, beginning operations in various public hospitals across the country, challenges with registration have been reported. This comes as the government admits that a gap in the implementation of this new health insurance system is there. However, patients continue to raise concerns about whether SHA will provide them with relief, as Anodida details.
A spot check by TV47 across hospitals has revealed growing frustrations among patients, particularly after the transition from the National Health Insurance Fund (NHIF) to the Social Health Authority (SHA). For this patient, for the past 2 months, NHIF services have been unreliable, and now hopes rest on seeing if SHA will make a difference.
Kwa sasa hiyo mwezi kama hiyo 3-4 ambayo ndio pita, ndio wakati nilikuwa nakuja hapa nilikuwa inakataliwa. Sasa sijui kama hii SHA pia itakuja wiki, itakuwa hiyo wakati ambayo itafika ambayo pia hiyo SHA itakataliwa mna gani.
In some areas where people are financially disadvantaged, patients are dealing with overcrowding in hospitals, with some forced to sleep on the floor or share beds. The withdrawal of NHIF has left a financial gap for those in need of more affordable healthcare services.
Lakini sasa unajua sisi watu wa ghetto kipato yetu pia tumejaribu kuchanga ile pesa tunaweza kachanga tumtoe, lakini bado anasisi. Sasa huko ndani unapata mgonjwa analala chini, watu kitanda wanashare, unashindwa sasa watasaidikaje.
By the end of this week, salaried workers will see deductions from their income under the new SHA framework. These deductions are based on salary bands according to different tiers. For salaries between 0 and 20,000 Kenyan shillings, shift deductions will range from 300 to 550 Kenyan shillings. Salaries between 20,001 and 50,000 Kenyan shillings will see deductions ranging from 550.3 to 1,375 Kenyan shillings. For salaries between 50,001 to 100,000 Kenyan shillings, deductions will range from 1,375.3 to 2,750 Kenyan shillings, and for salaries between 501,000 and 1 million, shift deductions will range from 13,750.3 to 27,500 Kenyan shillings. For many living in poverty-stricken situations, these deductions represent an additional burden, worsening their financial struggles. Despite government assurances of affordable healthcare, some patients in public hospitals are still being asked to pay extra fees, raising doubts about whether the new system will deliver the promised relief.
Nimeuliza daktari, hii x-ray nilifanya na SHA ama juu sasa kama iko sawa inafaa ianze kazi immediately venye nilifanya hivyo. Daktari ananiambia
At the same time, public sector unions that had threatened to strike over concerns about SHA have called off their planned industrial action after reaching an agreement with the government. The pact, signed by the Union of Kenya Civil Servants and other unions, ensures that public servants will continue receiving comprehensive medical cover under SHA until November 21st this year.
We are standing here to call off the threat and to call off the strike, because whatever made us to give the notice has been sorted out.
4 weeks later, and the conversation as to whether the Social Health Authority is operational continues to shape the conversation in the country. But while it is active in a section of hospitals, the problem has been cited to be that of registration. Ann Odida, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you, Ann. Now, 6 senior officials from Teta County who were arrested by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission ESSC yesterday over alleged theft of public funds amounting to about 7 million shillings in the pretext of commemorating the First World War have been arraigned at Mombasa Law Court. Now, however, the 4, including Thomas Jumwa, who is the current economic advisor to the Taita Taveta governor, have denied the charges. The chief magistrate, Alex Ithuku, slapped Liverson Mugendi, Leonard Langat, and Christine Wakera a bond of 1 million Kenya shillings with an alternative of 200,000 Kenya shillings, a cash bail that is. However, the first accused, Thomas Jumwa, has been slapped with a bond of 2 million Kenya shillings with an alternative of 500,000 shillings cash bail. The case will be mentioned on the 7th of November.
For the first accused person, it is my finding that the number of counts and the sums involved should be a factor in the consideration for what is reasonable. I therefore proceed to also grant him a bond in the sum of Kenya shillings 2 million with one surety of similar amount, or in the alternative, he will be allowed to pay cash bail Kenya shillings 500,000. On the second limb of the issues raised by counsel for the defense, I have seen the impugned posts on X, formerly Twitter. It is clearly misleading if the charge sheet we have is anything to go by, and that's obviously wrong. The matter is now before court. The expectation by this court is that reporting will be accurate. I will not, and I cannot gag the media, including the communication departments of ESCC, so long as the reporting is within the confines of the law. The presumption of innocence remains.
The Honorable Jeremiah Kioni is already in studio, as of course we await that important conversation. Is the mountain safe? That is one of the questions that we ask. Are they happy that perhaps in the event that, the embattled Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua is not Deputy President anymore, are they happy that Kindiki is the other option coming from the mountain? Again, a question that we'll be asking and so much more. So don't you go anywhere. Allow us to take a quick short break and we come back with that and more.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in? I was number 2. What position were you? Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
All right, welcome back to the broadcast. This is the Daily Report, the marketplace. But then again, we see that takes a halt today because then we must discuss the state of the nation. And we go straight to some more news where President William Ruto and his Somalia counterpart, Hassan Sheikh, have welcomed the establishment of the new African Union Support and Stabilization Mission in Somalia. The two have stated that this will build on achievements of its predecessor African Union Transition Mission that is in Somalia, ATMIS. In a joint communique that was at State House Nairobi during President Sheikh's visit to Kenya, that is on Tuesday, the two head of states called on international community to assist in building security responsibilities and ensure a smooth transition, which is scheduled to commence on the 1st January next year. In addition, the presidents reaffirmed their commitment to strengthening bilateral relations between the two countries in trade and investment. And of course, it being that day for the marketplace, it's important that we also take a look at what is in the business world. All right, Safaricom has today celebrated 24 years of existence in Kenya since its official launch on the 23rd of October 2000. As part of the celebrations themed 24 years of transforming lives, celebrating through service, Safaricom showed appreciation to its customers through a variety of service and product offerings across the country. Chief Executive Officer CEO of Safaricom, Peter Ndegwa, said that from its humble beginnings as a mobile network operator, the company has expanded its portfolio to include revolutionary services such as M-Pesa, its mobile money platform, and other digital solutions. In a celebration of its 24th anniversary, Safaricom will also embark on a year-long series of activities aimed at engaging its diverse stakeholders, that is including customers, investors, communities, partners, employees, and the media. Ndegwa added that the company will also work closely with regulators and government bodies to advance the industry and foster stronger relationships.
So today, which is the 23rd of October 2024, Safaricom has turned 24. 24 is a very big milestone. Next year, we are going to be celebrating our Silver Jubilee. We are very happy to send all our employees around the country to celebrate with customers. I'm here as CEO of Safaricom at Junction Shop. I've just cut the cake with customers. Customers were very happy. I rewarded them with airtime, with other gifts that they can take home, whether that is unga, sukari, and so on and so forth. And it is a moment to reward our customers for their loyalty, for being patient with us, for always being with us. But also it's a way of celebrating the many years that we have been transforming lives. Safaricom is known for transforming lives, whether it's in the way we support this country on supporting Kenyan passion points, in sports, in music, whether it is how our foundation support community in healthcare, in education, in economic empowerment, or even in the way that we keep the country connected, providing connectivity. We have 4G everywhere. Now we have 5G in 1,100 sites. At the end of this year, we are going to have 5G in 1,800 sites.
Well, Mr. Director says we save the business for another day and we get sporty, where TV47, in a partnership with Radio Africa Group and the Star, will conduct the inaugural Football Kenya Federation Presidential Debate. Do we take that one, Mr. Director, or we wait? All right, and of course, this Friday, the 25th of October, 2024, that is from around 6 p.m. local time is when we'll be running this. The debate at the Catholic University of Eastern Africa will bring together all the 9 FKF presidential candidates. And they include Hussein Mohammed, Cleophas Tuto, it's quite a tongue twister, Shinyamula, and Tom Alila, Sami Owino, Doris Petra, Sam Nyamwea, Chris Amimo, Sam Ochola, and Barry Otieno. Over 20 million viewers are expected to be glued to their screens and digital platforms as these aspirants share their visions in shaping the future of football in the country. Stakeholders in the public and media are invited to tune into TV47 and TV47 digital platforms for a discussion which will drive football to greater heights. Now, the FKF elections are expected to take place early December this year. The county elections will be held in November. Take
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in? I was number 2. What position were you? Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side. We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins
in primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
to hard lessons,
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
we cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights,
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
strategies,
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
and stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwa watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1. He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The
All right, welcome back to the Daily Report. On set this evening is the Secretary General of Jubilee Party, the Honorable Jeremiah Kioni, and we equally have the Honorable Member of Parliament of the Dadaab constituency, that is Farah Maalim, as we get to look at what is playing out in the country. The hashtag, as always, the Daily Report. I'll be looking at some of your comments as you continue with the broadcast. The numbers to call will be running down on your screen, as well as 22047 being the SMS short code. We look at what you have to say. Remember, the conversation around the state of the nation. We must continue to have this conversation. And perhaps the biggest questions that Kenyans would be asking, and I think I will direct this question to the gentleman that I have on set, is whether we have lost our sovereignty or whether we're losing our sovereignty, and at an alarming rate for that matter. Honorable Farah Maalim.
Which matter in particular?
Well, whether we're losing our sovereignty.
Sovereignty basically is the fact that you are a member of the global community of nations and you have a nation.
Right.
We're an independent country with a system in place and with the leadership in place, and with the military, with the police, with a civil service structure and a population. So basically we're a country. I don't see what you mean by how we lose our sovereignty.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that is the question of very many Kenyans who are worried, because then again, we have seen nations that have lost it literally because of the
You become a failed state.
Leadership. Yes.
No, if you become a failed state,
And that largely would be about the leadership.
you still don't lose your sovereignty.
Right.
I mean, sovereignty is even Somalia is a sovereign state.
As it stands.
With all its problems, yes, but it's a failed state. So if you're a colony, of course, you're not sovereign. If you're a dominion, there's also it's questionable. Right
So
now,
in this case, then, of course, to speak to the people of Kenya, that the sovereignty stands, just that we should be worried that then again, we are going to be a failed state.
To be very honest to you, Madam Alela, I don't understand exactly what is so fundamentally different from the way we've been transacting business 4 years back,
or
even 3 years back. And now, for us to basically, cry foul and make all the kind of the hullabaloo that's there, and I don't see that, to be honest with you, because if you ask me a specific thing, because of this and this and this, and I mean, there's insecurity, there is, I mean, half the country is in the hands of some rebels, for example, let's say, or we have a movement that is trying to change the authority in the government. Those are the kind of things that you would worry about, and that leads into a failed state, which is still sovereign, by the way. You can be a failed state, but you're still a sovereign, as long as you have a flag, you're a member of the United Nations, and you have a name. You have a population, and you have a land expanse. You're definitely a sovereign state. So sovereignty, to the extent which being micromanaged by other countries, I mean, that is something, a phenomenon all the third world countries grapple with, whereby multinationals, the big donor, the banks like IMF and World Bank and the rest of them, and in some cases, if you go and take loans from certain country, for example, the Sri Lankans took very massive but very expensive loans from the Chinese, and some of their own infrastructures, which are state national infrastructures, were put into the hands of the Chinese as a collateral in the first place. For example, a port, an airport, and those kind of things. Then you worry about whether basically you are a colony right now, and or not a sovereign state. But I don't think that has happened in our case right now.
Not just yet. I believe you've seen the latest report, of course, from IMF. I'll be looking at that. But briefly coming back to you, when we're talking about sovereignty, when we're talking about, a state that is supposed to be intact, do you suppose that as a country, based on what it is that Honorable Farah Maalim says, there's not much that has changed in terms of how we're transacting business, and therefore there's no cause for alarm?
I don't know. It's a very wide question. I was listening to Farah. Farah was my speaker during the 10th Parliament, and 10th Parliament will always be remembered for having given us the constitution that we have today. And he played some useful role that time. In our constitution, there is also, other than sovereignty, there is the provision for human dignity. And human dignity is a term that has a very wide definition. And I'm looking at Farah and wondering whether he has ever reconciled it. So I didn't know that I was going to have this session with him. I would have been happier to know a little bit in advance.
So that you
how
to counter.
So that you make proper decisions. But I look at him and I wanted him to first of all tell me whether he has reconciled himself with the call for killing 5,000 Gen Zs.
The statements that he made. He's going to respond to that.
I am here. Let me just say this, because when you wake up and you are an elected leader and you say that if you are the one in power, you'd kill 5,000 people who are supposed to be, you are supposed to be speaking on behalf on the floor of Parliament. And when you are saying that, we have very many of them who are being shot by sharpshooters. I went to the mortuary and saw them dead, killed from within Parliament, which is supposed to represent the people. Thereafter we get other bodies in mortuaries or in quarries. We have missing bodies in the hundreds that cannot be accounted for to date. I then wonder whether he has reconciled himself with that position for him to have the audacity to come and talk about even issues of sovereignty.
In his defense, defense, he has spoken to this matter before.
I haven't heard him myself, I know.
Well, if you haven't heard me, what you wanted to hear is what you are parroting now, and all those others are parroting for only one reason. For only the reason that I have taken certain fundamental positions on certain things that are current in our politics right now. And it's primarily because of that. Everybody who is fighting me right now on that issue and who are moving around with falsehood and lies. Because this thing was taken to the National Coalition. They went through it and they found it edited. You get my point? I was out there and I said, look, what I said is that I will use every power at my disposal to make sure that we do not have a failed state. You getting that?
Right.
If you watch my speech properly, and then you can see the few bits and pieces that I edited, even the words that I use, the Somali words that I use, which is Somali words, by the way, it's not English, not Swahili, does not say expressly that I'm going to kill Gen Zs. You get my point?
Right.
But I said, can I just finish? I said,
I'll come to you, Honorable
I said I am going to make sure that this country does not become a failed state. The rule of law must be upheld. But I never called for Gen Zs to be killed.
And when you look at that event, Honorable Farah Maalim...
Yes. But because I voted for the finance bill, and I would vote for it if you bring it back 10 times now. You get my point? I still think that was one of the best bills this country has had for a very long time. And I think we have problems in the country that needs to be dealt with. We need to pay. When you are in a deep hole, or a shit hole for that matter economically, you must do an element of heavy lifting for you to be able to pull yourself with your bootstraps out of that. Nations do that. The loans were not taken in this period. I mean, some were taken, but those were taken to retire the other debilitating, very expensive loans that were taken from the Chinese, from the Eurobond and the rest of it. And they were not taken. Can I just finish?
Yeah, but you are digressing.
Make it
no, I'm saying
talk about the issues that the issue I've raised. It's very important.
The issue I'm trying to tell you is that I did not say. You see, when somebody is out there and telling you, I did not say. The people who edited actually were not Kenyans. Were Somalis who basically, because of my opinion on other areas, and the main one was because of the secessionists in Somalia and the rest of it.
And we intend to advance this conversation based on what it is that you say.
I say it exactly, yes.
But then I'm asking this question, even as Honorable Jeremiah Kioni comes in. Looking at the Gen Z scenario, looking at what it is that has played out in the country up until date, where we're not very clear of who is the deputy president, in as much as, of course, the courts would pronounce themselves, or perhaps senior counsel, that is Paul Mwite, would pronounce himself to say that as it stands, it's still Rigathi Gachagua. And then we expect to see Kindiki Kithure appear to address some concerns as to the Interior Ministry, which he does not appear, as if to confirm that, again, he is the deputy president. Don't you think it would be misplaced for us to argue that there's nothing much that is different, from what it is that has been?
Look, this is not...
Make it quick. So that
but you are getting...
All right, we come to you and then you're going to respond to
Yes, you can go back to him.
Okay.
Farah, Mari, it does not matter in what language you use in this country. If I speak in Kikuyu, I am certain that the Somalis will hear what I say. When you say that you are going to kill 5,000 Gen Zs in this country, don't tell me that the over 5 million Gen Zs we have are so daft that we do not have even Somalis within them who can be able to interpret that statement correctly. And then don't tell me that people will just pick you and single you out as the one who was the most diplomatic or the most patriotic person to be given that kind of attack. And I find it even still insulting to say that I'm parroting. I am not parroting.
Honorable Kioni. Honorable Jeremiah Kioni.
Let me just finish.
Yes, Honorable Jeremiah Kioni.
You were even thrown out of Wiper Party for the same allegation.
I was not thrown out.
And you have not even faced the disciplinary committee.
I have not thrown out. I do not have.
I want to say this.
But
Mheshimiwa, you see, we cannot continue in so that race may abound.
Can I say this?
Kioni does not want to go into a substantive debate on the areas.
Which is very important.
I cannot go into a substantive debate.
This is called ad hominem. You know, when somebody does not have such...
It is in my business to protect you, Honorable Farah Maalim.
And he's scared of that.
You need not to worry.
It is in my business to ensure that any debate
the Kenyans get answers.
Engaging with, I am engaging in a debate with people who have respect for Kenyans.
Have you taken a legal approach to this, Honorable Kioni? You all understand the rules of the game and what is required of a Kenyan who feels
I would want Farah Maalim to live with that which he said. It is not me to take him to court. He said it and he's a mature person. I am taking offense that you are putting me on the same table with a person who
The point is home. Honorable Farah Maalim.
Let 5,000 Gen Zs, and there is no way we can escape with it.
I think
Let me tell you,
you're my friend.
I am your friend, and I came here because I invited you.
Yes,
and
for purposes
of the
people of Kenya.
Who is this that I'm coming to debate with? If you had told me as Farah, I would have respectively told you, and until I'm able to reconcile myself with his intention of killing 5,000 Gen Z, I am unable to debate with him.
He's pronounced himself on that.
And I don't believe.
We understand.
I do not
Why
believe.
don't you believe? Ask him why doesn't he believe?
I don't.
Well, he says he hears.
And I will be asking.
Gentlemen, for purposes.
I will be asking you.
You know, he prefers those lies because right now, you see, what people when there's something called ad hominem. He's a lawyer.
Right.
When you don't have substance on an area that you are going to debate and you're scared of somebody who's going to
debate.
He's still on the same line.
You're scared of somebody who's going to debate.
You see, gentlemen,
he now wants to insult me.
I did not say.
While he cannot be able to
say it for
defend
me,
you.
you can go ahead and
carry on.
I
cannot be able to sit with a person who can be...
Look, it is well. It is well. Honorable Farah Maalim, let's proceed with the conversation.
Let me tell you.
Let us proceed with the
conversation. Is my old friend.
Yes.
He understands my position.
Right.
He understands my principles. He understands my history very well. And he knows that he cannot debate with me on substantive issues.
Let us address the agenda because then we're here to discuss the country.
That's why he has to digress into something that was set up.
I will disagree to that because I have hosted you alongside Honorable Kioni before, Honorable Marafa.
I'm trying to talk to you about this thing right
Proceed.
now. Can I explain to you?
Proceed.
You see, Kenyans largely have known me for the longest as a progressive opposition leader. For the longest.
Right.
Right from those early days. There was a presumption in their minds that Farah would again oppose vociferously the areas that were there, like the finance bill and the rest of it. And the debate around the finance bill had nothing to do with the finance bill. It's all sections of the society that basically felt that they had a certain entitlement and they were now showing a revolt. You can get that in any club or in any group of people who are together. I mean, people vote you, for example, and they feel that you have abandoned them. They will rise up against you. So there was certain political undercurrents that were there at the time. But on the face value of it, the things that were there, I said time and again, I did not say I'm going to call for the killing of Gen Zs. And I said it. Now, you said you can go to hell. Because if you think by repeating, if 100 million people say that I said it and I did not say, up in my conscience, I'm very clear. You get my point?
Which is pretty much okay.
Absolutely.
And let us be kind with the words that we use.
Listen, for them, I've not been chased out of Wiper. I would not be in parliament if I was chased out of Wiper.
Right.
I resigned myself as a deputy leader of Wiper. You understand my point?
Yes.
And already people have talked to me in Wiper and say, look, we were just doing this for the political optics. We want you, we don't want you to leave. And they're watching. So right now they're watching me in here. And I added value to Wiper. Wiper did not add any value to me.
Right.
You get my point?
Do you? What do you mean? Wiper did not? You are elected under the ticket.
I was elected. I had the opportunity to be anywhere. I started off as ODM in this country.
You have been part of Wiper Party for quite a long time.
Well, just the last 2 elections.
All right.
And if you look at the ethnic and everything else, and people go into something, for example, I mean, they are friends of mine. Shakil Shabir and Junaid cannot run on any party other than ODM or an independent party and still come through there. I have only 30 Kamba voters in my constituency. If that's what you think is an area that is there.
The DAB.
Yes. I added value to Wiper. I brought them members of parliament. When I first came in, hang on a minute. When I first came in, I brought them a member of parliament. There are a lot of them. And we've been very close friends with Kalonzo for the longest. And I left a big party that was willing to appoint me, even as a deputy party leader. Go to Raila Odinga and talk to him today. There's such a powerful respect between us. Right. But anyway, for whatever reasons, I felt I was going to be in this party, which is much smaller that time.
Okay.
Be that as it may, there are always these trends. You know, right now, Kalonzo is of the opinion that he's going to get the mountain, which is still ethnic, by the way. It's still tribal, what you call calibrations.
Okay.
And assuming that the Gema will add, at the end of it will be Akamba, Gikuyu, Mbumero, Akamba, and the rest of it. Whatever it is, everybody has a right to dream his own way. Everybody has a right to look at his own future, political future, and how to validate it in the manner that he wants.
Okay.
or she wants. But what I'm trying to say is that to try and say this crap which is out there.
Honorable Farabalim, let us have some balance with the
I was never chased out of a hotel.
Yes.
You know, these people are so, the social media is so full of crap and lies. I don't lie, let me tell you one thing. Because I have a faith and I have the courage to say what I believe in myself. And I've said that all my life. I was never chased out of a hotel. They even said that I was chased out of Garissa Golf Club. Have you ever heard of Somalis playing golf anyway? The closest they get to golf is the sticks that they use to herd their cows and their camels. You understand my point? Yeah. There's nothing called Garissa Golf Club. I've never been chased out of Kempinski. I've never been chased out of Serena. I've never been chased out of any hotel, including White Sands. But you see, there are those people, a couple of them who have got, each one of them has got 500 accounts, and they put up this stuff out there and the rest of it. The Kenyans can only be liberated. This country can be liberated with the truth, not with the lies.
Let us get to the truth, and of course we put a disclaimer
I'm willing. Let's debate.
Let's debate. Let's talk about Kenya, which is very, very important, and like you rightfully put it.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you substantiate. You've been here long enough to have seen that perhaps there's no cause for alarm as it stands right now.
There's absolutely no cause for alarm. Yeah. All the loans we have right now that are making life impossible for us were taken under the previous government.
Okay. Kenya's IMF review has been added to the IMF board calendar. The meeting is set, that is for 30th of October. And of course, 7th reviews under the Extended Fund Facility and Extended Credit Facility, and 2nd review under the Resilience and Sustainability Facility arrangement that Kenya is expecting to receive about 113 billion shillings from IMF. If we're going to have this kind of conversations, don't you get worried that perhaps we're going to expand?
Yeah. No, let me tell you one thing. You see the difference between loans from those multilaterals, the IMF and the World Bank, and loans from commercial banks,
right? Chinese,
Eurobond, and all those commercial banks. There are no kickbacks, there are no commissions on the bilateral, what do you call loans, or multilateral loans. When you're getting a loan from a government, straight government, there are no kickbacks. When you're getting it from the multilaterals in the name of IMF and World Bank, there are no kickbacks. African Development Bank, all those ones, nobody's going to pay you any what do you call 10% or 20% or whatever it is.
Right.
But when you go to Eurobond, who knows where the money for Eurobond went? Largely to the pockets of people.
Okay.
And nobody is willing to follow it. Let me tell you one thing. You see that multiple standards. I was in this country myself. And what this government is doing right now is to borrow money from IMF and World Bank to retire some of those very, debilitating, very heavy burdens of the old commercial loans that were taken, that are going for as much as 8%, 9% interest. But these ones which we are taking right now are going for 0.75 plus label, which is very, very small.
Right.
And with a moratorium of, let's say, 6 years, you understand my point. And it gives us a breathing space, and there's hardly any interest on it.
This government has promised.
So the idea is, let me tell you, if you want to deal with corruption, if you want to deal with people lining up their own pockets, go back and find out where that money went. I don't know if you remember when the Auditor General wanted to follow the money trail of the Eurobond.
Yes.
And he was scolded and admonished by none other than our head of state that time.
Honorable Faramani.
Did we follow that to the logical conclusion?
We probably did not. Is this current government doing it? Is the current government doing that?
Well, if it's doing, it's going to be called witch hunt. You understand my point?
Okay.
It's going to be called
witch hunt. So it should not?
Well, I think it should. Everything should be, no stone should be left unturned. And everything should be followed to its logical conclusion. But I'm telling you, I'm not holding a brief for this government.
Okay.
I'm just talking as an independent person who was neither in the old government nor in this government right now. But I'm just trying to tell you the areas where things are going fine and the areas where things went bad for a very long time.
Okay.
Linda, I am about 70. I was here in this country as a professional as a young man going through college when Jomo Kenyatta died. And for the longest, at least 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, the story was that Moi is a passing cloud. He's a passing cloud.
And then he came on board and 24 years down.
He came on board because and got literally largely secured because there was a coup attempt, and then he managed to crash the coup for whatever it was, and then realized that he could go out now to the rest of the country. And that way, he got his life extended by the manner it was extended. You get my point?
Right.
So always, there has been a section of the society in the country that felt that there was a manifest entitlement, manifest destiny. You see what I mean?
Right.
Like, for example, right now, I do understand and I agree with the fact that majority of the people who voted for this government were from the mountain region. And presumption was, including the previous government, that this was going to be shared 50-50 between two communities. Now, when that changed, then of course there were these issues that, and all the stuff we're seeing right now has very little to do with the economy. It has very little to do with the finance bill as it was. It has everything to do with initially, you cannot bring Raila on board.
Okay.
You get my point?
All right.
You can't bring people who did not contribute to this victory on board. We basically have to sit out there and let's be, the banquet. The feasting banquet is for those people who put in their shares in there.
So is it that
you don't run a government
by design that this?
No, you don't run a government like that. Okay. It doesn't matter where you got the bulk of your support. I ran for elections myself, and I lost more than 30% of my voters out there. And I'm not going to go and isolate them and say, look, that location did not vote for me, that sub-location did not vote for me, that sub-district did not vote for me. No.
Are you telling us a broad-based government is a good idea?
Very good idea. Why was it a good idea for us to have, what do you call, he was there, the accord, the national accord, which essentially was there for power sharing. Yeah?
Right.
Yeah, the accord, you remember? Which we did Kibaki and Raila.
Or you're talking about the Grand Coalition government?
The Grand Coalition government, yes. The accord was a piece of legislation, by the way, which only needed a simple majority for it to become an act of parliament.
I don't want to say reduced, but have we been reduced to a point where it has to always be a question of coalition?
Can I just finish what I'm saying?
All right.
The accord was there. We had a 50-50 power sharing. The nation was brought on board. I think those 5 years were some of the best 5 years we've had in this country for the longest. You get my point?
All right.
It was a national coalition. We had a prime minister, we had a president. Ideally, they were supposed to share power 50-50. But there was such a powerful decorum between themselves that Raila did allow to have, for Kibaki to become a first among equals. You see what I mean? A president and a prime minister. And the bulk of the country believed that he won that election. But we had stability, we had a solid, development in the country. I think those were some of the best 5 years this country has ever seen. So to bring in people who are in the opposition to the government, why not? Because you are dealing with a nation, you are not dealing with ethnic communities and regions and sections of the society and parties, no.
Then came the handshake. Do you suppose it was a good idea?
Very good idea.
Did it serve the purpose?
Very good
now
idea.
that then, so you make sure that you get
we had a lot of problems. You have to understand, this election, like the previous elections, the ones of 2013 and the one of 2007 and the one of 2013, 2007, sorry, 2013, 2017, 2022 was also a razor thin margin. You get my point?
200.
It was too close to call.
Yes.
Too close to call.
Yeah.
And in the previous ones before that, everybody believed that there was a rigging. That's why they would not even open up the servers and the rest of them, yes. But what happened? There was a handshake. Why would a handshake be such a beautiful thing if it is between Raila and Kibaki? You get my point?
Right.
Why would it be such a beautiful thing if it's between Raila and Uhuru? And it would suddenly becomes a pact with the devil when it's between Ruto and Raila. Just ask yourself that question.
Shouldn't it be a handshake? Shouldn't it be a broad-based government that ensures that even the ones that feel like they're being shortchanged then are well incorporated? Their interests.
I agree with you entirely. I agree with you entirely. Tell me one area that you feel is now agitating because they were left out. If you're talking about the mountain has got close to 50% of the government.
The government.
Yes, yeah, right now. Yeah? You get my point. At least more than 40%.
The appointments.
Cabinet ministers, the appointments, everything.
Okay.
For a population that's hardly, probably around a quarter of the national population, it's a fair deal in my opinion. You get my point?
Right.
But I think that's the best it can get. And everybody else has got to be accommodated. I did not vote for Ruto myself in the last elections. And can I tell you how many votes he got in my constituency? You'd be shocked. He got 508 votes, not even 1,000 votes in my constituency.
Okay.
And Raila got 23,000 votes. But now that he has won and he's the president and we're looking for stability and the way forward for the country, we just have to accept that this is a fait accompli for the time being, and we do the best we can for the country itself.
His deputy. Forget about the mountain, but look at his deputy.
Well, his deputy...
the embattled one, because now at this point we actually...
Well, he was the deputy, the former deputy. I mean, he's gone now. Can I tell you one thing?
You think he's gone, 100%?
He's gone.
Even with all these court battles?
He's gone. He's gone. I mean, I have no doubt in my mind he's gone. He should have been here himself. He's a lawyer also, and he would have told us. I think that's a debate for another day. And
all right.
Because the matter is in court.
It's in court, yes.
And it's sub judice. We cannot debate it now. It's not allowed in law.
Right.
But the reality of the matter is that there were too many things. I mean, the president was meeting members of parliament and literally pleading that he is not going to sign the finance bill.
Okay.
That he expects Kenyans to go through a conversation. And his deputy was in Mombasa. And the moment the president finished his own...
He spoke.
He also spoke.
Okay.
And castigated the president and his
the NIS, not the president.
The NIS is the president. NIS, the director general, is as good as the president.
Okay.
Castigated all the decisions and the style of management of public affairs of the president.
And that you did not see any form of truth in what he said?
I didn't see anything. I mean, I only saw ethnic politics there, period. And I can tell you that. You know,
direct attack too?
Direct attack into somebody who's a civil servant. This is the first time we have ever seen anybody attack a director of National Intelligence Service in the country. We had Kenyotu, we had Kivovani, we had Gishangi. You get my point? We had Kameru the last time. And we've never seen we had Boynet. You get my point? We had Boynet, we had all those ones. And we've never seen anybody, even those of us in the opposition, would hesitate to talk about somebody in the national security, national intelligence service, or talk about a member of the disciplined forces. We'll never talk about the generals. We'll never talk about the admiral. Basically, the admirals of the Navy, what do you call admirals we have? We never talk about them. You can't talk. Any country, those are sacrosanct areas, sanctified. You don't take politics there. Don't take politics there.
So this is his own undoing?
Seriously undoing. I mean, when you do something out of the tradition, not only our own tradition, but the global tradition, then of course, you can't blame anybody else for what happened. You see what I mean? In any case, let me tell you, there's only one president. And when you're a deputy president, you're there to be told what to do by the president.
What is this that is the
There is no parallel power and authority there. A deputy president, a vice president, is the most unenviable job. You only do what you're told to do.
By your boss.
Yes. And that goes for everybody. It goes for the Americans, it goes for the British, because the British have got the deputy prime ministers. When you're a prime minister and you have a deputy prime minister, he just has to do what you tell him to do. The day he decides to disagree with his prime minister, then he goes and resigns. And in most cases, he invariably says, I'm resigning for health purposes, for family matters. You don't go and wash the dirty linen of your private club. Parties are private clubs, for information, let me tell you.
What do you suppose was the basis of this undoing? Why would he have decided to take
well, I
that
think
this is a gentleman that has been, in the corridors of power for...
Look, I don't want to talk about his character. I don't want to talk about his personality. Right. It's up there.
As we sum it up.
For everybody to know.
All right.
But I don't think... we had a serious problem. And then look at the numbers. He got 44 votes in the National Assembly. 281 votes voted against him. All the majority of the region where he came from voted against him. And you want to tell us that's the best man in the country now. You get my point?
All right.
What does it mean? It probably means that, look, he comes from a privileged background, comes from a privileged region, or privileged ethnic community that he can never make a mistake. Now that is wrong for a country. Let me tell you one thing. Don't try, nobody should make him. It's just like the Israelis right now. They can do whatever they want. Okay. They are the chosen people of the world. And essentially, whatever they do, people have to accept it. They can kill, they can maim, they can rob, they can rape, they can do all sorts of things. Basically, they're the chosen people of God. The rest are there to serve them. So when you behave in that manner, it's not good for a country like ours. Nobody is any more equal than the other.
Without focusing much on the persona of the former deputy president, or perhaps
I'm actually talking about generalities.
Yes,
here. I'm not talking about
yes. And
I'm not talking about the merits and the demerits of
the
case. Yeah.
Right. He exits, but he reminds the parliament that there are better things, concerns to address for the people of Kenya. He speaks of the Adani case.
There is nothing better and more urgent and more serious and more urgent than the presidency being set right. Let me tell you one thing. You get my point?
Right.
You don't have a president tomorrow in Nairobi, in Kenya, we don't have a country. If we have a deputy president, we swear him in straight away as a president.
Okay.
But we don't have that, we don't have a country. You become Somalia, you become Sudan, it becomes a civil war and everybody for himself, and this country goes.
But we do not have Honorable Moses Wetangula. Perhaps enlighten the people of Kenya.
Well, I think if what happens is that if anything happens to the president under the current constitution, automatically the
deputy takes
over. But if for whatever reason the deputy and the president are indisposed, then of course the speaker takes over for a given period of time and conducts elections, which essentially is there.
Okay.
But God forbid. I mean, we pray that doesn't happen. It never happens also. But what we need more than anything else is stability, the unity, the sanctity of our country, the constitutional order, the respect for the Constitution. This is a constitutional democracy. We went for elections. People won and people lost. We can't change that through the streets.
Right.
No, you can't. You can't change that through the streets. So basically, the way I'm seeing right now is accept your position in life. Look, I'm a member of parliament. My whole community might want me to look like a president. I can't go out there into parliament and say, I'm going to be the president tomorrow, because whatever it is, you know what I mean, and for whatever reasons, everybody has to listen to me. No, you can't do that. Now, masses should care about, one, the unity of the country, the integration, social integration of all the community, because of our diversity. We have had this, we came out of a colonial settler, system in here, where settlers were implanted in here, which is a special race, and basically the rest of us were supposed to be there as serfs. So for us to be able to delink and disabuse our minds from those ones, that whoever has the instruments of government is a king into himself and his community, and everybody else is there as a servant, that has got to go.
Yeah.
And that's why it's people in Kenya would want to take the presidency at any cost, because they know the difference. Now that has got to go. That has got to go. We have to look at our constitution much more thoroughly, and see how it can be an all-inclusive thing. I think this pure presidential system has been a serious disservice to us.
I like that. First of all, Honorable Jeremiah Kioni acknowledges that you were instrumentally engaged in making sure that you accorded us the 2010 Constitution. We have senators who are speaking to the adjustments of, the leadership, perhaps the executive, you'd want to call it. Samson Cherargei speaking to the adjustments of the term to longer periods, while Senator Kiruo Gathangwa as well is recommending that we do 4 years. What do you make of this?
Look, the issue is not the term, is not the length of the period. The issue is the system itself. How well is the presidential system, pure presidential system, serving us? I don't think it's serving us good. We need to go back to some kind of a hybrid parliamentary presidential system, yes.
Typically the BBI conversation?
To some extent, yes. We take all the good things about the BBI, which were there, we take them. But I think we need to have a president who is symbolic, just like India, like UK, the way the Queen is, and have a prime minister who is accountable to Kenyans on the floor of the parliament.
Right.
You see what I mean? Yeah. And we have the party system in here. That way you can change policies and have them amenable to the needs of the people. Right. But right now you have a president who is far divorced from you. You have the members of the cabinet who are not members of parliament. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they're not members of parliament, they're technocrats out there. They have a serious deficiency in being able to translate these things into parliament, into a mass. It's a problem. It's a serious problem. So I think when you come from a constituency, then you know what every other constituencies have problems are having. So that's why ministers were always accountable to us on the floor of the House. And they always answered questions. Right now we have questions being answered by chairs of committees. Chairs of committees do not have the instruments of government in their hands. So they're basically giving you answers that were given to them from the executive out there. The executive is not accountable in any way. You see what I mean?
Right.
So we have a problem. We have a serious problem, and we need to go back to a system that essentially works.
Do you suppose we should not read much in the fact that the Honorable Kindiki Kithure did not appear to answer questions, of course, in relation to what is playing out in the interior docket?
Well, I don't know. You're talking about something that happened today?
Today, yes.
I haven't seen that.
You have not seen that?
Asked. Yeah.
All right. Of course, bringing in a bit of question as to why it was necessary for him not to show up. So this is what it says. Interior CS and current Deputy President nominee Kithure Kindiki skips Wednesday Senate questioning session and requests rescheduling to a future date.
Which is
proper. Shouldn't read much into it.
Let's not read too much into it.
Okay.
Because we've had many times cabinet ministers, the cabinet secretary is telling us, let me appear before the House or before the committees the next week or the week after, for one reason or the other. And we always acceded to that. So because there are obvious issues here, there'll be a new minister, if everything goes right and the way it is on schedule. He doesn't want to, for whatever reasons, I think we just have to give him the benefits of doubt.
All right.
And allow whoever is going to be in the docket, whether him or somebody else. If this thing gets prolonged, and then of course he will be the one who will come in there because he's still the substantive minister for internal security, interior.
All right.
But if he asks us for more time, then that has happened to us many times, even in this parliament.
Okay. Honorable Farah Maalim, we're about to come to a close, but it's important as well we hear what the people of Kenya have to say. Allow us to take a quick short break and then we come back and look at some of the comments as well as your parting shots, and then we come to a close.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in? I was number 2. What position were you? Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The grind. where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to.
All right, on set with me, Honorable Faramali, Member of Parliament of the Dab constituency, equally a legal mind right here in the country. Unfortunately, we had the Honorable Jeremiah Kioni who left, but all the same, the show must continue as well. We have so much feedback from you, which we certainly appreciate. Of course, one gentleman here says, wacha wa Kenya wakule ujeuri yao, waliambiwa, wakakataa kusikia. I don't know what it is that Kenyans were told. As well, Cardinali says that, of course, we all hoped that we're going to come out of this, ethnic balkanization kind of thing, but unfortunately, as a people of Kenya, it looks like tribe is the way to go. Honorable Farah Malim, that is a very important concern that comes here, that for a moment we feel like, well, we are almost getting emancipation from these, tribal cocoons. But like you rightfully acknowledge, that even the battles that we get to witness today are largely one ethnic group targeting another and all that.
Look,
what will it take?
The closest we had to having a powerful national integration and unity was after the elections of 2002. Mm-hmm. When all Kenyans came together and elected Kibaki.
Kibaki Tosha.
The moment Kibaki came on, State House became another ethnic barricaded. Mm-hmm. Within a few days, mm-hmm. Raila was not allowed to go in there. Yeah. The man who was literally responsible for the victory. You see what I mean?
Yes.
So we lost that golden opportunity. I don't blame Kibaki for it. I blame the handlers who were around him that time. The busybodies.
Right.
The same ones who are peddling the stories right now that Farah wanted to kill 5,000 Gen Zs, Farah wanted, yes. Which is a pack of lies. And you keep telling them, look, this is not true. And they don't. You tell them, look, there are qualified government agencies that have investigated this and have confirmed that this thing is edited. They don't want to hear that. You get my point? Mm-hmm. Because they've been made to understand this was the Kayo Shuka. That's basically what it is.
Okay.
That they're going to make a lot of noise and you ban parliament, you run into State House again, the man is going to take off with the chopper, mm-hmm. and then of course somebody will come to be sworn in from somewhere else. Why do you think Gachaguas was in Mombasa at that critical moment when Nairobi was burning?
Okay.
Nairobi was burning. The idea is, the very foolish, silly idea, it was actually a coup, let me tell you, mm-hmm. was that he was going to take a chopper, Ruto, and run off to one of the next countries and then, okay, come.
So?
Yeah. No, you don't have to be a genius to understand simple, basic things that were being done that time. And I think it is time that we all appreciated that this country can be managed by even somebody who is an El Moro.
Okay.
Are you getting my point?
It shouldn't be about the main tribes.
No, it shouldn't be about ethnicity. It shouldn't be about ethnicity. It shouldn't be what is called manifest destiny. Mm-hmm. Entitlement, chosen. Are you getting my point?
Right.
It's not good. It's not going to help us. It never helped us in the past. It will never help us in the future. And in any case, let me tell you one thing. There are no constants in the country.
Okay.
There are no constants in the country. The Luya nation was...
Lembe nation, that one is another one.
The Lembe nation,
yes.
when we got independence, was I don't know, number 4.
Amongst the,
No, they were not.
It's actually now at 2.
It was actually one of the smaller ones.
Yes.
It was, the big tribes and the small tribes. The big tribes were the Luas and the Kikuis that time, of course, the mountain by extension.
Today is the second most populated.
Today is the second most populated, and undoubtedly in the next 5-6 years it's going to be the first most populated because the rate at which it is, ballooning is big.
It's high.
And again, others will come up and others will go down. You get my point? Mm-hmm. So even to assume that my community, my region today has a certain numbers over the others, that's not a constant. Anything can happen in 10, 15, 20 years' time. Mm-hmm. You could find yourself number 3 or number 2. Mm-hmm. You see what I mean? So these are the kind of things that we need to disabuse ourselves.
Yeah.
And politicians are only interested in that temporary gains. take an office, sit in there for a given period of time, do certain things, awful things, marshal your community to get the votes. I mean, those kind of things we must disabuse. This is the moment. This is the moment.
To run away from
you see, every crisis has got a silver lining.
Right.
The crisis that we have just come out of right now, in my opinion, it should teach us a lesson that business cannot be as usual. This country has got to be integrated. People have to be truthful to one another. Okay. You can't keep on peddling lies and pack of lies here and there.
And that people will not like the truthful man for what he says?
They don't like a truthful person. I mean, that's exactly the reason why I'm being vilified right now, because they wanted me to be in the opposition.
But the truthful man in Rigiji as well has been speaking about...
Don't make me laugh.
All right. We save that for another day. Somebody says that Mulembe should...
When you say that, your community did not give us votes, so you stay out there, mukaya hapo nje. Wacha sisi tukule hii mashares yetu kama kuna mabaki alafu tunaweza kueleta moja moja hivi kidogo.
But Honorable Farah Maalim, just like you've had the DP defending himself, says he did not really mean that.
It's there in what do you call it? But anyway,
it's in the public domain.
But I have no problem with it. By the way,
fair enough.
I was the first one to shout out his name and say that he is the worst number 2 in this country 1 year before. But later on, we met in Garissa when he was out there to check on the effects of the droughts, rather the floods, and to see how the communities can be taken care of. And we sat down together. We more or less buried the hatchet there, and then I said, look, whatever it was, please go around the country. Don't just be seen as somebody who is coming from one area and is only advocating for one area. Don't be identified. And he accepted in principle.
Okay.
I don't know what happened later on.
But we lost this. If you want to speak to the president, now that you say sometimes, the handlers around the presidents or the presidency would be the biggest undoing. If you're going to speak to the president of the nation tonight, what would you tell him amidst all these things?
Look, let me tell you, Kenya is bigger than everybody. Everybody. So there is no price that we can... no price is too expensive for the unity, the integrity, territorial integrity, the peace, and the stability of this country.
Okay.
That must be protected at any cost. You must protect that. Other than that, go out and reach out to the 4 corners of this country, unite Kenyans. Those who feel that they are so much entitled that reaching out to the 4 corners of the country is taking away their own entitlement, then of course you just have to talk to them and tell them no. You have to accept. It's a reality. You might not like it, but that's the reality. Okay. There's nothing special about you. We are all the same as a country. In any case, let me tell you one thing. We have seen a lot. We are 60-something years old now as a country. 61 years old. We are 61 years old. And 62 from the time we got internal rule when Prime Minister Kenyatta was there. 62 as a prime minister, by the way, with executive authority. Although the governor was there, he was just a figurehead. So 62 years. Other than the period that Moi was there, we also had Kibaki, we also had Uhuru, we also had Kenyatta for his period, 15 years, and the other 2 of them for 10 years. They were all from the mountain. You get my point?
Yeah.
Moi was there. Ruto is now there. Give him a break, for God's sake. If he's going to fail, let him fail himself. But don't push him all around within the shortest possible time. Because he came in and it was baptismal by fire. Baptismal by fire. You see what I mean? I would look at our currency, how it has steadied against the dollar. Ordinarily, if things went the way they were when we came out of the elections, the dollar would have been today transacting at 300 cents to the dollar. But because of the teaming and ladding and all that was done, you see what I mean?
Right.
The manner in which things were done, if you are not able to retire a loan, a debilitating loan, and it becomes due for payment, and you don't have any other alternative, you don't have a cheaper loan to pay for that, that gives you a grace period, then of course you have to look for more shillings, and the dollar was going to spike, or rather, shoot through the roof.
Yeah.
But now it's been kept steady. So the economy is generally steadying up, doing a little bit better. So what we need to do is that we give ourselves time, we give the government of the day time. We definitely will always have either a president or a prime minister coming from one ethnic community or the other. You get my point. We're all equals as a country. and basically, and let's not have people who were former presidents or former whatever it is, meddling up in politics again. You see what I mean? I mean, when you have Uhuru literally running back and forth to be seen to be undermining the government itself, instead of doing exactly what Moi did and what Kibaki did, that is not good. It's not good for the country.
Latest reports is that, of course, there are adjustments as to the stability of the economy going down by 5%, and therefore that would be a concern to very many Kenyans who say they literally cannot get to enjoy even that value.
Yeah, but you see, when you can't say reject the finance bill. You see, governments do not have money of their own. We do not have natural resources. We are not bringing black gold from the ground. We don't have gold that the government, basically mines and sells to the external markets.
Do you suppose...
We're not Saudi Arabia. We're not what you call the Emirates or Kuwait or the rest of them with the kind of reserves out there.
Okay.
So we raise our money, recurrent expenditure, development expenditure, and all that through taxes.
Okay.
When you reject taxes, then what happens, if I may ask you?
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. You can't be asking for services. You can't be asking for all the services. Employ the teachers, employ this, do that, employ the doctors, and we're not going to pay taxes. Now, where do you get that from?
It becomes difficult.
Even as a colony, we used to have taxes, let me tell you one thing. Hard tax and poll tax and God knows what.
So what is this that they talk about when they say you cannot tax yourself to prosperity? Overtax?
No, overtaxing is...
We're just talking about loans.
It's going... look, take a look at some few models. Look at Korea, look at Malaysia, look at Singapore, Hong Kong. They found a way to get out of the poverty that they were in before. And they found a way to, from literally slums and everything else and no housing. Today, every Singaporean has got a house. Every family has a house and a roof. And they got this not now. They're first world, from third world to first world.
2 years, you suppose he's going to surprise us, the president? The Jubilee, the Kenya Kwanza government is going to surprise us?
Well, that's what they said. I have no reason not to believe that.
Okay.
I just want to give them time. If somebody tells me, give me a chance for 2 years, and you will see the difference. Why would you not give that person the 2 years? For two reasons only. One, you think he went there wrongly before. You get my point?
Right.
And two, you think he might prove himself true, and you have nothing to use against him. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You don't like him, you have nothing to use against him. And that's the most likely one. So allow him to go ahead and do what he has to do. And after 2 years, if things are not going good, then we know that we have a problem.
Okay.
Yes.
When a CEO here is saying, I totally disagree with Farah Maalim because he's not transparent to whatever he's saying. We don't have a former DP, and he should know that DP of the Republic of Kenya currently is Honorable Rigathi Gachagua.
I did not say a former DP. I said a former number two.
Former number two.
Deputy president, the only two deputy presidents, one of them was him, and their vice presidents. So when I say number two, the vice president was number two.
Okay.
The deputy president is number two. So don't try to look for small basic semantics here and there. Get some points and get us some logic to
all right. And Rizzo says, of course, Honorable Jeremiah Kioni did well to step out, but equally it was important that he speaks, or perhaps he sticks around for purposes of advancing the agenda for the people of Kenya.
Absolutely.
As well as, thank you so much, Linda. We appreciate the conversation this night. I hope Kenyans can wake up and realize that 2027 is coming. And of course, the ball then goes back to the court for them to do the right thing. Honorable Farah Maalim,
somebody who said that was you.
Sorry?
Is that your parting shots or somebody has...
These are messages I'm reading from the WhatsApp. But then again, my parting shot, here it comes. Unless you want to say something in 30 seconds, we should be closing.
No, I personally, what I feel is that, look, we don't have any other country. Let us not sacrifice our country for very temporary expediency. Let us not personalize politics. Ruto is there now. He's the head of state. He was elected. You get my point? He was subjected to a petition. I was there, part of the team that was subjecting him to the petition. The petition was dismissed. He's now the president. You get my point? Let's all come together and see how we can move this country forward. You can only have one president there. And there is no shareholding in any country government. Let me tell you one thing. I don't have a single kilometer of tarmac in my constituency. 6,800 plus square kilometers. And I don't have a single.
But why, Honorable Farah Maalim? You've been there for a long time.
Because I'm telling you, because the money was never allocated. The development was lopsided. The people who are in authority and business in the government are the ones who just took things to their own backyards.
All right.
Now we want a government that takes this development to the four corners of the country. And we will achieve it. Let me tell you one thing. Nobody's going to allow. Wajinga wamerebuka. Even those ones who initially did not understand these things are now coming back and saying, put a stop to the development of the other regions until you equalize my region with the rest. You get my point?
Right.
So and of course, in some areas, people's homes, tarmac goes all the way to the homes. Water goes everywhere. And kila mahali.
You'd better do something for your people, Honorable Faramali.
I'm not talking, it's not just my constituency, by the way.
Very many others.
I'm talking about all the 18 constituencies except Wajir town and Garissa town and Mandera town. All the other constituency headquarters are suffering the same way.
Well, that is rather unfortunate.
The 15, what do you call, constituency headquarters in those places. I mean, Isiolo, Garabatula constituency, Isiolo South. There's no tarmac. It's now when we're trying to get tarmac through there.
Are you saying you've been marginalized?
For the longest. The British marginalized us.
Would you say then you have failed your people as the leaders?
No, we tried.
That you've not lobbied enough?
Where we are coming from, where we are now and where we came from, there is a world of difference. I first came to Parliament when we used to admit one student per year from the whole of Northeastern Province into our national universities.
Okay.
Today they are well over 100,000. That's an achievement.
Therefore,
you know what we say in my religion? If you thank God for the bounty that was bestowed on you, God will add some more. But if you don't thank, then the little will be taken away from you. So what I'm trying to say is that, look, we're all getting somewhere. I might not have a tarmac there, but the human resource and the water facilities that are there, because we used to trek for 50 kilometers to get to a borehole before. Now I can get a borehole every 5 or 6 or 8 kilometers in my constituency. I put in boreholes there, left, right, and center. Very many, just in the last 2 years. So what we are saying is that schools are there. There are about 23 centers that did not have schools. And I have built the schools in the last 2 years. So we're doing well. And this is the list that can be done for a constituency. All other constituencies are doing better, except the ones from the marginal areas. So what I'm saying is that, look, we have a country. We are getting somewhere. Let's be equal and let's try and strive together. Let's move together in terms of development.
Fair enough. Honorable Farah Malim, the Member of Parliament of Dadaab, thank you so much for your time. Of course, we appreciate as well the presence of Honorable Jeremiah Kioni, who was here, but as well left. All in all, the conversation continues on our socials, TV47 KE across. And of course, thank you so much as well for the immense feedback that we get. We must close it at this very point, but we look forward to engage some more. It was great having you. My name is Linda Alela. Of course, on behalf of Hibak Said, we close the Daily Report and the Marketplace by extension, as well as appreciating our sign language interpreter on the other end, Catherine Simaloy. Do have yourself a lovely night. Mushimiwa, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All
welcome.
Right.
Most welcome.